Hey guys, in this video we're going to finish up our CSS in LESS. So we're on the specials area. We have pretty much everything above the fold is complete. So let's move on to the specials. So basically we want these images, we want them a lot smaller, and we want to float them so that they're side by side along with the heading, paragraph, and link. Alright, so let's go ahead in our CSS file and start with the actual specials class. And all I want to do here is add a margin to the top and bottom of 20 pixels. Okay, so next is the list items. Each special is wrapped in an LI tag. So we want to set the width to 33%. Because we have 3, alright, and then we want to float them to the left. Now we want to do a box sizing property, but again this is another selector where you need to use vendor prefixes, so I think it's a good place to add another mix-in. Okay, so under our border radius mix-in, this will be a box sizing mix-in. Okay, so we'll call this dot box sizing, and we're going to give it a default parameter, which is the type, and the default will be border box. And then down here we can say WebKit WebKit box sizing, and that's going to be set to the type. Okay, and I'm just going to copy this, and we'll put our Moz prefix or Moz, and then just no prefix. Alright, and then save it, and then in the main less file we can now say dot border radius. Okay, and then lastly with the list item we want to add some padding. Let's see, 0 and then 10 pixels on the left and right. Alright, so we'll save that. Specials. Alright, so now everything's floated, but we have an issue with the images. Obviously they're way too big. What we want to do is again set them to 100% because they're going to be set to 100% of its container. Okay, so let's go in and say dot specials image, which will have a width of 100%, and then I want to add a little border around it, so we need to put a little bit of padding and then the border. So border 1 pixels, solid and gray. Okay, so that should look a lot better. Okay, so we just have an issue with this one being going underneath, and let me see, I just want to check something in the style sheet. Let's see, so this is the style sheet that is getting generated from our LESS, and I just want to check the box sizing, make sure that's going in correctly. Specials LI, just check something here. Oh, that's kind of silly. I use the border radius mix in here, and it should be box sizing. Don't know why I did that, but let's check that out, make sure that that fixed it. Whoops, that's the finished one, and there we go. Alright, so you want to use that box sizing option. Basically it makes it so that the padding doesn't affect the width of of the element. Alright, so that looks good. You know what, I'm going to make the width of the container just a little bigger. Okay, so we have it at 50%. Let's see what 55 looks like. Yeah, that's better. I like the heading here being all on one line. Looks a lot cleaner. Alright, so that's basically it for the specials. Now we're going to move on to the new menu items, which is going to be very similar. If we looked at the finished product, it's basically the same thing, the same exact content, but it's just the image is floated to the left. Alright, and we also still have to do these headings. Alright, we're going to have the background for, whoops, this background is the primary color and this is the secondary color. So let's do that now. Let's get those out of the way. Alright, so you can see our headings are right here, and I think we already gave them the class names. Let's just check real quick. H2 class heading primary, and then the new menu item heading has heading secondary. Alright, so let's create those styles, and I'm going to do that up at the top of our less file, right under the headings. So heading primary. So we want to give this a background color. So background, primary color, and we want the text to be white. Padding is going to be 4 on the top and bottom, 10 on the right and left. Alright, that's heading primary. Let's take a look. Okay, that looks good. Now we need to do the secondary. So I'm just going to copy this, and we can just change this to secondary. Whoops, we need to change the class name. Okay, so that looks good. Now let's do the new menu items. Okay, we'll go down at the bottom here. And what is it? New items. And I want to add a margin just like we did with the specials for the top and the bottom. Okay, so new items LI. Okay, we want a border bottom, and that's going to be a really light gray, solid 1 pixel, and then a margin bottom of 15 pixels and a padding bottom of 5 pixels, and I want to set the overflow to hidden. Okay. Okay, not much changed. So now what we want to do, I'm going to do the image next, and pretty much do the same thing for the image. As the specials, we want to set the width, and specials image, we'll keep that at 100% for now. So what I want to do is, in each list item we have a left and a right div. We need to float the left, which is the image, to the left, and then the text to the right. So let's do that. If we look at the HTML, you can see we have item left and item right. Okay, so let's do new items, item left. Okay, so item left is going to float left, and then the width we'll say 20%. Okay, so for item right, For item right, we're going to float it to the right, and we're going to set the width to 80%. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, so the image is still very big. Oh, specials image. I didn't change this class name. This should be new items. Okay, so this looks good except for the image is a little too big, so I'm going to set that to, instead of 100% of its div, I'm going to do 85. So new items image is going to be 85. Reload, and there we go. Okay, so it's starting to look really good. All we have left really is the footer. Alright, so basically I'm going to add some padding to it, and I want the text aligned in the middle. Alright, and then after that we can move on to the responsive media queries, which we don't have much work in. So what am I doing? Footer. Okay, we'll add some padding. I just want, actually, I think just bottom padding will work. 20 pixels. And we want the text align center. Alright, that looks good. Okay, so let's go ahead and try to make this a little smaller. Now, we have a few issues here. One is, as the screen gets smaller, this just looks way too skinny. Alright, so what we want to do is make the container wider when the screen is below a certain width. Alright, so let's go ahead and create a few media queries down here. Alright, and what I'm going to do is go from biggest to smallest. So I want to start with a media query with a max width of 960 pixels. Okay, which is quite large. It's larger than tablets and smartphones. So container, I'm going to set the width of the container to 70% as opposed to the 55 that it is now. Okay, when it's below 960. Alright, so this is above 960. If we go, and there it is right there, the breakpoint. Okay, so that looks better, but it still is too wide. I think tablet view would be somewhere around here, I think. So let's create another media query. I'm just going to copy this, copy it a couple times. Yeah, we should have 3. And I'm going to say change this to 768, which is basically tablet, and I'm going to set the container to 80%, and then down here this is going to be max width of 568, which will basically be smartphones. For that I'm going to change it to 90. Okay, so let's reload tablet view. Okay, that looks better. And then once we hit the breakpoint for 568, it goes up to 90% width. Alright, now if we scroll down, for a tablet view, this doesn't look bad. Okay, even though we have 3 columns here, this doesn't look bad. So I'm going to keep it like that for a tablet. But for smartphones, we start getting smaller. You know, that doesn't, I don't think that looks very good. It's too narrow. So what I'm going to do is stack the images and the content on top of each other. Same thing for the new menu items. Alright, so what we're going to do is work in this 568 media query. Alright, so let's start with the specials. Specials LI. We want to take away the float. And also set the width to 100%. Okay, so for the image, dot specials image, we want that to have a width of 100%. Alright, so that should be good for the specials. Next we have the new items. Alright, and actually I don't want to do the new items. I want to do the image. Whoops, what am I doing? For the image, I'm going to set the width to 97%, and then we want to clear out the float divs, the item right and item left. So item right and item left, we're going to set their float to none. Whoops, what in the world? We'll set the floats to none and the width to 100%. Alright, so let's save that and reload. Okay, so the specials, images, get a nice big image, content, link. Okay, that looks good. Okay, the new menu items aren't cooperating, so we're going to have to go and use an important tag. Alright, so item right and item left, float none, we're going to say important. Same thing with the width. We're being stubborn. There we go. Alright, so that looks pretty mobile friendly to me. And that's it. So we've created a restaurant newsletter using CSS and LESS.